Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the What the Football channel. This is the BH and Scrubber Show. And on today's show, we are going to do a recap of that Seattle game. And just for a little housekeeping, by next Saturday, we're going to do a preview show of the upcoming Giants game. So be sure to check that out. And then, of course, on Sunday, right here on the What the Football channel, we will be doing the play-by-play live reaction show for the upcoming New York game, and that should be a lot of fun. This last game, it was a lot of fun. It was a tough loss, but it's always exciting. We had a great time. It was white knuckle all the way, and I just couldn't pull it off. So, BH, what do you think, man?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun actually. Had a lot of people in the chat. People were pretty pumped. Too bad we couldn't seal the deal. Um, that game ended up being we talked about a lot of things, right? But the one thing we said 100%, we said this is going to be a really good football game. We
Mm,
knew it. The two teams evenly matched. And that's what it was, man. It was toe to toe, both teams throwing it out there to the bitter end. So, yeah. Anyway, we've been on the road for two games. And so that's why I'm here at FedEx. We're back home. Got those filthy Giants who really, a game that might be the worst game of the year,
yeah.
really, overall. Most disappointing game and just against not a very good team. We really owe those guys a beating. So hopefully we'll talk about that on Saturday. Yeah, the game, it was one of those things again where I've noticed this a lot around the league where it seems anymore, if a team gets the ball, a minute or so to play, maybe one timeout, and they need a field goal to win, and all they need is three chunk plays, and
Yeah.
they're there and they kick it. And I watched it happen this weekend, not just to us, but to other teams. It's just like, man, what are we doing on our defense? And our defense had some highs and lows. And in that last minute, letting decaf kind of get away, DK Metcalf get away from us. And I watched that play a bunch of times. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just it was sort of like, St. Juice had him and there was a safety and St. Juice was sort of soft on him and the safety didn't, it's like if you're going to play it that way, like, St. Juice is playing a little soft because he wants to make sure he doesn't go upfield on him. Well, the safety's got to come in there on the slant. And they both just kind of played it kind of soft and gave it up. And so,
The tackling technique was
unfortunately,
pretty shitty there by Quan Martin too. If he'd have tackled him right where he got the ball, they'd have been on about the
yep,
35, which would have made the kick harder instead of he got down to around, I forget,
yep,
the 25 or the 20. So
yeah. So, yeah, that sucks. That's too bad because Quan actually looked pretty good out there, too.
mm,
Up until that, he was like not a lot of plays, but, he looked okay. It looked like he was sort of getting it. They've been kind of feeding him, I don't know, 15 or so plays every game. So he's seeming like he's starting to get it. Um, yeah. So the defense overall, once again, I mean, they put up a lot of points on us. I mean, they have a good offense. Gino's a good quarterback. They have those great receivers. They're very similar to us. They moved around. They passed. They did screens. They did
mm,
run games. So I guess the overall, so on the negative side, I'd like to see the pressure wasn't great. Once again, pressure wasn't great.
nope.
Um, and I will say this: we've seen in the past, even with Montez Sweat and Chase Young, we've lost games in the fourth quarter with the team driving down with soft coverage. I mean, it's not like I can blame these two tight ends, but these two new defensive ends. But overall, we need more pressure. I know they sent Jamin. They sent a few guys. There was some blitzing. Jamin actually did really good on his blitz. And one he blitzed, I think, on a run. He came just running in and just crushed their running back.
Hmm.
So so that was good. But I don't know. Give me some of your thoughts.
As far as like their defense, we should, I watched the Baltimore game, and Baltimore ran like almost 300 yards on Seattle. I don't even know how many we got on them. 68 yards or something like that, or
Yeah.
I don't even know what it was. It was terrible. Why, if Baltimore was able to exploit that, why couldn't we? And even when we did run the ball, which was a minimum, I think it was only like 14 times, uh, they did try and run to that A B gap kind of stuff that just doesn't work. And sure enough, when they run to the left, Lord, he got a 15 and a 12, and that was late in the game. But like we talk about, you got to run the ball. You got to, yeah. And I don't think Bieniemy knows how to run the ball. I don't think he knows how to incorporate that into the game. He just seems to me so hard-headed that his way is the right way, that it didn't seem like any scouting was done on the Baltimore game against Seattle. Baltimore ran all over them fuckers.
Yeah.
And we got the tools to do that with them. And it just was, in my opinion, non-existent. Now, you talk about the screenplay being like a run play. I get that, but you can't just ignore the run play either. And a lot of those were just dump offs. They weren't really scheduled screens. And so I think we could have exploited their defense a little better. It says a lot when your two leading receivers are your two running backs. That's ridiculous. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's terrible. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way. And then your third guy was your tight end, and then in fourth, I think was McLaren. So I just don't think that EB dialed up a decent enough game. I just don't think he did a good job of doing that. And I thought Sam did a good job. The running
Yeah.
backs obviously did a good job. I thought the tight end, Logan Thomas did good, and Bates did good on a couple things. I thought the front line held up somewhat. Uh, I liked the design play for Sam Howell. That was good, but he fumbled it. And that's just him not experienced
Yeah.
enough in like regular running. If it's a design play, he's got to learn to lay down. At a certain point, you got to stop. If you picked up 5 or 6 yards and now you're going to fight for three more or lose the ball, just lay on the ground and
Yeah.
not fight that. And also, he has a tendency not to like run down. You know what I mean? He kind of runs kind of like standing up, and that just makes you a fucking target for a strip. And so you really
Yeah.
gotta, if you're gonna run the ball, you gotta get down a little bit and run the ball. But I did like that. They don't do that enough for him. Uh,
Yep.
he threw some good stuff to our boys. That throw to Gibby on the corner of the end zone was good. I don't know how he got that off. The one to Dimey Brown for the touchdown was really good. So
Yeah.
we just, I don't know. Producing on the ground is a big thing for me, and they just
Yeah.
no one in the NFL throws as much as we do, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not
Like you
necessary.
said, the only thing I would say in there, I mean, for in that way, is at least there were, I mean, I think like those two plays that they made that Sam made were basically because the pocket disintegrated, and one was Sam just had to do it on the run, which was, so it's bad on one end because basically Cosme just, I watched the play a bunch of times. It was the guy covering the slot guy was there, and he was leaning over, kind of. You could sort of see him leaning, and then the safety was behind him. So you got to realize that guy can come because there's a safety back there, and he came, and he just came right in between, and then Sam and Larson just blocked one guy,
Yeah,
and I mean he just came free. I mean Sam, and then Howell looked up and went, "Whoa!" And already he had to move to the side, and luckily he broke three. But those plays were awesome. The
yeah,
touch he put on them, rolling left and throwing them on a dime, and B-Rob, credit to him. So I think one thing that they did do, because they did run screens a lot and stuff, is I think that's what they wanted to do. It's almost like they wanted to avoid their DBs and their say. I mean, that is like the strength out there. They do have some great coverage people, and they seem to just stay away from the receivers and say, no, we're going to keep it in tight. But I still think no matter what you say, I think EB and Sam Howell did enough to win the game.
Yeah.
Once again, it's sort of that common theme where, the offense does enough, and it seems like, we've had to go both ways too, but it seemed like they did enough to win, and it just, we couldn't get the stops. And of course, Sam's fumble didn't help, but I mean, at least it wasn't near our goal line.
Yeah, they didn't score on it. It wasn't a scoring fumble. So,
yeah. And I really, like you said, I thought it was funny because we, when they go into that gap, I don't know what it is, the A or to the right of the center, if that's the A gap, they run there a lot, and, we were saying, why can't we go left? And man, we ran 2 plays to that side, and boom, both times, B-Rob was gone.
Yeah.
So
a 15 and a 12-yard. They did them back to back too. One play right after the other.
Weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's almost like it
stopped, and then after that,
the enemy,
they just stopped doing it.
Yeah, it was late. Yeah, and it was kind of weird. Like you say, maybe it worked really good. And the enemy said, "Hey, let's do that one again." I like that, So, that was. I mean, we knew it was a tough road game. I mean, I guess the best thing I can say out of it was, it was a loss, so it sucked, and it was pivotal because that would have really put us in a great place. We talked about it on the previous show. I mean, we would knock Seattle down. Now they've got the tiebreaker on us.
Yeah.
And our record sucks. I mean, and you had pointed out too during the show, everyone we needed to lose won.
Yeah.
So in that regard, no one helped us. But I guess I would say there were the pass blocking on the O-line was kind of suspect. I think Wiley did pretty good, but Wiley got burnt really bad on a guy coming around him that totally blew up a play. Interior, they seem to get pushed back a lot. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know that. I mean, Seattle does have a pretty good D-line. They did get Leonard Williams from the Giants. So maybe, I saw Sam Cosmi, who's pretty good, usually gets stood up. But I don't know why you can't test the run. And then, I mean, don't go into a game going, well, we can't block that well. These guys got a pretty strong D-line, so we're going to do this over here. Well, no, I mean, give it a go. And not just, like you say, in that A gap. Run it over here, do a jet sweep. Get the ball into guys' hands right away and test those guys right away.
All right.
But
yeah, it's from the shotgun all the time. Do it from under center every now and then. And then part of what you're saying with the pass blocking might be, well, hell, give them a break. Let them run block every now and then. But it's pass blocking. That's shit. When you got a pass block for 3 or 4 seconds, man, that wears your ass out. I could see where they'd get tired. These are 300-pound guys down on a 3-point stance, got a fucking 3-point stance, stand up and try and block some 325-pound guy. Play after play after play after play, and run blocking is different than that, and it kind of gives them a break, actually.
Yeah.
So and I go back to especially where Baltimore ran almost 300 fucking yards against them guys. What? I don't understand why you didn't pick up on that and try and replicate that in some way. Something worked for Baltimore.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you try and do that too? I don't understand that. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm just a casual.
Yeah, it's kind of like
I know.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But it's kind of like the Giants game. When the last Giants game, when they're coming, they're bringing it. That's what they do. That's just what they do. They like pressure and they like to mix it up. And in the last game, Sam just stayed back middle of the pocket, your typical 5-step area. Mm-hmm. Run it in between the gaps, boom, boom, just try and smash mouth it on the gaps and just nothing. There was like, we couldn't, I documented that game, went back and looked, like no jet sweeps, one screen, one draw. I mean, it was like all the things that if you had like we talked about, if you had a playbook, hey, here's the 6 things you want to do if someone just keeps bringing it. Here's 6 things you can do to slow those guys down and take advantage of them, get them out of position. We did none. So this is a second game where, but I mean, in a way, everything we complain about EB starts to do. So I don't know, maybe, he finally ran to the left side. He finally started incorporating some stuff. So now maybe against the Giants, we go, hey, let's get Rodriguez out there too. And let's try some smash mouth.
No, he ain't going to get that. He doesn't get it. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, he said, "Oh, I promise you I'm going to be incorporating the run more." And he did pretty good with it like a week or so ago. And then just this week, just shit the bed on it
Back
again.
to it.
And I don't, and he does that. That's his MO. I'll do something one week and it kind of
Yeah.
looks like it works. And then the next week, and it just seems to me like he's not scouting. He's not, again, he seems like he's bullheaded. This is the way I'm going to do it. This is the way I want you to do it. This is the way we are going to do it and make it work or don't. Even though we did score
Yeah.
the points and even though, but it was like by a miracle that we did a lot of that too. You know what I mean? You can't count on the miracles. You can't count on some of those kinds of things. Our first down rate was on first downs on third were pretty good, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I think we just got lucky in a couple places and dug ourselves some holes that we barely got out of and things like that. And that's not the way to play football. So on
Yeah.
the yeah,
I
unless
agree.
on the defensive side, if you want to go to that, or you want to cover some more offensive side, or
You,
any more
oh no,
ideas?
let's talk about the defense. I think on the offense, I mean, I will say this. I mean, once again, Sam Howell is just proving that he's getting it week
Mm-hmm.
in and week out. The mistakes. I mean, once again, the sacks are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
They've been dropping, which is great because I mean the sacks were he was going to set a world record, one of those records that'll never be broken records for
Yeah.
a while there. So he's cleaned that up, cleaned
Mm-hmm.
up his turnovers. It's unfortunate the fumble was kind of unfortunate, but overall, I mean, he just keeps getting better. And
Mm-hmm.
he shows a lot of poise. I mean, and man, I tell you, if you're having a season not go your way, and there's a lot of teams out there where their season is not going the way they want,
Mm-hmm.
and their quarterback sucks. Well, we don't have that.
Right.
When you look at the Giants, when you look at Carolina, when you look at a lot of these teams that are struggling, they're struggling and they have a quarterback problem. That's the
Yeah.
worst thing in the world, man. So
Yeah.
we don't have that. So there is a silver lining. I looked at Pro Football Focus on offense before we go to D. Diami Brown only played 11 snaps, had a 86.8 rating, probably on that great catch that he made. And props to Diami. He actually made another catch on a slant, which, by
Mm-hmm.
the way, props to EB. I counted 4 slant plays, which I don't think he's ever thrown 4 slant plays in a game since he came here. So once again, he's listening to Scrubber. He's paying attention. So and that slant was down and away, and Diami had to go into the ground to get it. Sam had to get rid of it. It was a quick slant. So Diami did good, and man, and the way Sam threw that beautiful pass to him, and the way he didn't just catch it and go down, boy, he was ready to score. I appreciated that from Diami.
Yeah.
Like once he got that ball in traffic, he just kept going. So and Brian Robinson, without a doubt, 84.2. B Rob was the man. I mean, he was. I always say I like D Rob, and he's a good solid back, but I just don't see anything very, very dynamic about him. Well, he showed me this game.
Mm-hmm.
He did it all. He ran to the right, he ran to the left, he took those short passes, took some passes over the middle even. So Sam had a good rating. John Bates with a 73.7 and Antonio Gibson with a 67. So those guys were all stars on offense. So
Nice.
that was good. So yeah, the defense. I mean, for me, a lack of pressure.
Yeah.
I just didn't see enough. What do you think?
Yeah. The lack of pressure was definitely there. Whenever they do blitz, it's like a delayed blitz. It's just I watch other teams and I watch how they do their stuff, and we're just not up to that level. I just don't think the blitzes look like they're supposed to. I thought because Forbes was out early, it probably fucked everything up for them. They probably went in with a game plan with Forbes in the game plan, and then when he was out, all of a sudden everything changes, and so St. Juice had to be all over the place. He was on like both sides of the field, and They took advantage of David Mayo over the middle. Their run game was really good. That Kenneth Walker, he ran pretty well. Their run game was really good. Uh, he caught that one, little dump off to him for a 64-yard uh, touchdown. So those big plays are basically what killed us on defense. Uh, the
Yeah.
big plays, and we didn't, no turnovers, no sacks, one sack, but that was just like Gino was running and like fell down at like at the line of scrimmage, and John Allen touched him or something. That didn't count really as a sack. So no sacks, no interceptions,
Right.
no fumble recoveries, barely any pressure. Making a secondary that has to work harder than they were ready to work. Up against DK Metcalf and Lockett. Those people are tough, and they just looked disheveled out there. I thought the tackling technique. You heard me say it there in the whole game. What the fuck is that? Throwing the shoulder at the guy, and
Yep.
like that one that DK caught on that last thing. That's Quan Martin throwing his shoulder at him and just like completely misses him, and he picks up another 10 to 15 yards right there in field goal range.
Yeah.
And I seen Percy Butler when Kenneth Walker caught that one and ran all the way for the touchdown. I mean, just making poor lines on the guy, juked out of their fucking socks, not making the tackles. I mean, I see bad tackling on other teams. I will say that we are not the worst tackling team, but man, them guys, you just got to
Yeah.
make those
Yeah.
tackles, and taking advantage of Mayo over the middle. Uh, yeah, a couple bad penalties at the wrong times. Obviously, St. Jude's got that penalty for the pass interference on that 4th and 5, and then I think like the next play he got a face mask, so that just moved him up the
Yeah.
field. You know what I'm saying? And it's just not helpful
Yep.
at all. And so just we always seem to do that. That's what we do when we shoot ourselves in the foot. It's not the penalty itself; it's when the penalty happens and the severity of the penalty. And so, yeah, they just couldn't
Yeah.
hold
I
up.
totally agree. Like you said it, no pressure, no sacks, no interceptions, no forced fumbles. I mean,
Nothing.
that's just, you can't win a game doing that. We're lucky it was that close, actually. And I felt like there's sometimes when we did kind of get some pressure, and then all of a sudden their guys were like wide open. So it was like yin and yang, It was like when we
Yeah.
did get pressure. And I noticed I watched a lot of our plays compared to their plays. They did some of those good looping plays, which really fooled us. Again, Boye Mafe coming off the edge, and sometimes he'd loop inside. We do not do that much. We run
No.
our interior linemen up. Our guys try and come around, maybe swim move, maybe do a spin to come back in, but we don't do any of that kind of stuff at all.
No.
And I mean, at some point, you have to do something, because in the NFL, you can't just sit there and watch a team just go down the field on you. So as far as the defense go, I mean, Andre Jones actually looked pretty good in his little bit of time.
He did.
I thought he's a guy that he could actually, you pointed it out, he's a guy with a little more playing time, could get out there in pass rush situations and do good. But I mean, defensively, really, I'm trying to think here. Our D line, Obata, Smith Williams, even John Ridgeway were all under 50 on Pro Football Focus. So
Yep.
they struggled quite a bit. And David Mayo with a 40
Yeah.
struggled a lot. So
Yep.
yeah, he struggled quite a bit. Now on the positive side, Andre Jones did good. Kendall Fuller did good, and he always does good. Mostly because his tackling numbers, his coverage is
Mhm.
good, but his tackling numbers are out of this world. That guy knows how to bring people down.
He does.
And then Jamin had another good game. Jamin
He
had
did.
now he didn't have the 80 game like last time. He ran a 63, and this is a guy who we've been waiting to. Maybe you're not going to be a superstar, but you got to be a top level weak side linebacker, dude. We drafted you in the first round, and he's kind of showing he's a playmaker, and he was out there quite a bit on play, so he's really settled in. I'm glad to see that. And the biggest star was Percy Butler with an 80. And Percy
Really?
was out there a lot, made a lot of yeah, Percy was out there in cover. He got a great coverage rating, pretty good tackling rating. So And Percy plays. He's like Cam. He plays 100% of the snaps, so he's out there a lot. So that's tough to get an 80 when you're out there on every play because
Yeah.
you're going to miss a tackle, you're going to be out of position, you're going to do something wrong, man. So hey, maybe Percy's getting it, man, and that's going forward. That's good. Really young guy, right? Only his second year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, this is only his second year. So, yeah, and your point too about Forbes going out and then St. Just all over, and he was all over. He did, so many in the slot, and then he kind of split the right and left, and that's, I mean, it's okay to try a few, but man, if you got a guy running all over the field trying to cover all that, that really messes you up. And that was chicken shit to throw him out. And I tell you, man, one of the worst comment sections in the world are YouTube comment section and Yahoo comment section. And all of them, everyone thought it was just crap. Seattle, yeah. I'm a Seattle fan. I couldn't believe they threw that guy out.
Yeah.
And the other thing they couldn't believe, this was brought up by a few people, why the delay? They called the penalty, they did the ball, Seahawks had a huddle, Seahawks went up, everyone's getting ready to go, and all of a sudden the ref's like, wait, it says something, guy's ejected. But it was like
because it comes from New York.
Like, right, exactly. But New York owes us one.
Yeah.
After the week before, after what you idiots did to us on that pass, and that's another one. The comment section where most of the knuckleheads in the sports world go, it was 100% thought that was probably the dumbest play. I mean, Cowboys fans, Giants fans, Eagles, it didn't matter. They're like, that's the dumbest thing I ever saw. So really, New York owed us one, and then they just turned around and screwed us on that deal. So, and I mean, it was a good penalty. I think Forbes kind of came in. You saw he had his forearm out. He was trying to get in there. He got his forearm out. It was a quick play. He didn't go in. He wasn't trying to go in, and it was the side of his helmet to the side of the other guy's helmet. But it still should be called. But to make it out, I mean, boy, I see worse stuff every week where guys don't get thrown out. You know what I mean?
What they're doing is squeezing tighter and tighter on it. They want you to just go for the chest or the waist on something like that. They don't want you going high on it. Now, if you're 50-50 in it or something like that, or it's a half and half, that they're probably going to be a little bit more lenient. But if the guy's about to catch the ball and you're going to tackle him, you shouldn't be going high on a guy. He was up high enough. Yeah. And I'm not defending anybody, but you go lower and tackle the guy the right way you're supposed to tackle a guy. You put your shoulder into him, you wrap your arms around him, and you take him down. Just throwing your shoulder into somebody and you make head-to-head contact. See, that's where I talk about that shoulder kind of tackling that people do. It's a no-go. Yeah. They don't fucking do it, ever. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Tackle. That's why they should go to the Kendall Fuller School of fucking Tackling. That guy knows how to fucking tackle. These kids come out here, and I don't think anybody is telling these people how to tackle. I don't think anybody's teaching them. I think they just let them go willy-nilly, do whatever you want, whatever way you want to tackle, you just go for it. We don't give a fuck. There's no tackling taught anywhere. I saw that with that Quan Martin trying to tackle. I saw a bunch of other tackles earlier too, where these guys just throw themselves at the other. You're not going to tackle DK Metcalf by throwing yourself at him. You're just going to bounce off the dude, and he's just going to keep running. And so I kind of see what they're trying to do, but it should be even across the board. If Forbes is going to get kicked out, then anybody else doing it that way should be kicked out too. And then that way you start.
And that's the thing.
Right. It should be even across the board.
And that's the thing I don't like about it, because, they make it so close for these refs. And they're kind of like, well, I'm going to get in trouble with New York. Man. I'm going to call it. I'm going to throw this guy out, whatever. I'm just going to call it, even if like some of them are close and they still will call head to head, even though it might not be, but they don't want to get in trouble. They get graded like everybody else, but then the thing is, it's like pass interference to me. If you go, who's playing? Oh, if it's the Niners, the Steelers, the NFL's favorite teams, the ones they want to win. they won't call it, like pass
Yep.
interference. And then one of our DBs reaches up and nicks the guy on the back of his helmet. 17 flags just come flying on the field. So that's one thing I hate about it, that it gets
Yep.
to the point where there's, then the favoritism comes in, and poor Emmanuel Forbes, the guy has like some of the worst tackling statistics in the league,
Yeah.
and they got him good. So,
Yep.
yeah. So anyway, there was some good spots, but I think overall, the defense did kind of let us down. I mean, we got to have some pressure. So
Yeah.
I guess we can talk a lot more about that with the Giants game and the games coming up. We'll talk about that on Saturday, because now our backs are up against the wall. I mean, going, for the rest of this season, we have to go insane, so.
Yeah. Or somebody else just totally shit the bed. I mean, look at the Bills and look at people like that. You know what I'm saying? So they just 12 men on the field.
That's what you got to hope for.
12 men on the field. Lost that game for them. 12 men on the field. They missed the fucking field goal. They had 12 men on the field.
I know. Man. I was like going like this on the couch.
No shit.
But what happened? I go, oh my God, man. The guy shanked Kapotamus. He just blew it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, flag.
Yeah. It was a little late too. Like, what?
Yeah, it was. But it was, man. They counted him out.
Yep. Man,
that was weird. That was weird the way they did that. Instead of kicking it on third, they ran a play and then ran the team on field. But I thought that was stupid to do, because then the guy just didn't he just get the snapper? I mean, the holder just bobbled the kick on the last field goal try. So now you're going to run everybody out. Yeah, like it looked like a Chinese fire drill. They run out there, but in the end, they got lucky. It paid off, because I think it confused the Bills teams, because they had their regular people out, then they had their special teams, and they're like, then they got all, hey man, leave the regular D out there and line up in special teams formation. Don't be trying to, it's not like, so that really, so in a way it paid off. But
speaking of anyway, a bad snap and a bad kick, our long snapper was fucking snapping them almost every time Tressway tried to punt. Tressway is catching it up here like every freaking time. So Cheeseman is back to his old thing again. And then I don't know if Cheeseman's snap had anything to do with Sly missing that PAT earlier, but look at what happens when you miss that PAT. Fuck. If we would have scored that last touchdown we scored, it would have been tied 29-29, and then the extra point we would have been ahead. So you can discuss the 2-point conversion all you want, but if Joey Sly hadn't missed that extra point, we would have been up one, and maybe more incentive for the D to hold a little better and say, well, fuck, if we hold here and they don't score, we don't have to go back on the field again after a fucking, a fifth quarter. So that can all be, debatable. Even like you heard me saying during the show about the 2-point conversion, I said, if we go down and score, we should just do the fucking two-point conversion and just get it over with. And then, they're saying, well, with so much time left, they could kick the field goal and still win. But my thinking is, even if you get that 2-point conversion, maybe what that does is inspires the team. Do you see what I'm saying? Instead of a coach being conservative and go, well, we'll just kick the one and tie it up, and then we can go back out again. Instead, you say, fuck it, we're going for the 2. Now we're up, and then the defense goes, fuck yeah, let's go out there and stop these fuckers, and we'll win. You see what I'm saying? So the thinking is different when you do those two things. And I don't think I heard anybody else talking in that fashion. And so I relented and said, I guess they're going to kick it fine with me, but I still would have went for the 2. Fuck it.
Yeah. I was wondering what they were going to do. I mean, because you said it early. I mean, you said it before the drive started, so yeah. And then, once again, I wonder if the Cheese Man, because he started off bad and then he seemed to be doing okay. But like you said, now he's kind of slipping again. So, hey, there's no shortage of long snappers out there.
Nope.
If you got someone, almost have to do it on the, man. they're kind of a team. There's a lot of timing with those guys, so we'll see. I'll go back and watch some of that, see if I can see what happened on that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's no reason to mix an extra point kick, man.
No, not at all.
That's
Dude.
easy.
Not at all.
That's easy.
And look what it
Yeah.
does. Look what it does.
Yep.
You lose the game, basically. I mean, you could point to a lot of single things that happened that lost the game, but that's one of them. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
well, we got New York next week, and I want to encourage everybody to keep the faith, man. We'll do our show next Saturday,
Yep.
but come next Sunday, let's just look at the individual games as having fun. You know, these guys want to win as much as anybody else, as much or more than we do, and so we'll just support them and try and have fun again next week and hope for a blowout or something. But we'll preview that on
Yeah.
Saturday. Anything else, BH?
Yep. That's it, man. We'll go one game at a time and
Yeah.
get some wins, man.
Yeah, we'll fire all the coaches and assistant coaches at the end of the year. We'll just go with what we got.
There
for
you
now.
go.
I'm good with that. All right, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, man.